And then this week, how positive has it been with the fact that you had the whole week to prepare?
Well, I think it's been very good. We've had very good practice, very competitive, a lot of mixing up of guys, and a chance to really work. And I don't know if we found a rhythm offensively. You don't know that till you go through it in the games. But to continue to shore up what we need to do defensively, it's just been a good, solid week for us to get better at the things that we were already felt we were doing a good job of, and to really even enhance it even more with some of the things that we weren't.
Did the bye come at a good time for you guys to re-energize a little bit?
Probably, and we've been able to get them some time, but we've just got to continue to, the word that just comes to mind constantly is a combative mindset with these guys, and they just have to have that. And it's been competitive this week, at times combative, and I think they just need to continue to understand that they can be a good team when they play that way. And when their edge is in their toughness on defense, their ability to rebound, transition defense, and getting the ball moved from side to side. And those are the things that have to be our edge, and those are the things that we have to constantly coach and make sure that we're trying to bring those out throughout the entire game.
You've been talking about them trying to be more combative in practice, or just putting together
those
games.
And
in games for a few weeks now. I mean, it doesn't grind on you after a while that these guys aren't maybe translating every single game for 40 minutes.
Certainly it does. And when you have injuries to key people, it's hard to get that balance. I mean, sometimes the only thing that is, your voice can be strong, your ideas, your game plans can be strong, but sometimes the most important strength the coach has is that chair, and that's part of it. But I mean, it's also a learning process. It's not like they're not trying to, so that'd be different. If we had guys that were struggling with effort, they're not. They're not struggling with playing hard. They're struggling with understanding just where they have to be constantly inside of that. And then what happens is you get guys thinking too much, and that's hard too. We can't do that. But we've had a good week, and I'm anxious to see where it takes us.
Talk about Sherna. It looked like he played 39 minutes last night. Obviously, he's back to where he was. Sure.
Well, he's such a well-rounded player in his ability to get to the basket. He posts. He reads how he's being played in the post. Certainly has three-point shooting. He's like Jordan Taylor in that when the end of the clock winds down, Sherna and Thompson are phenomenal. I mean, they find a way to get the ball to those guys if they've gone way down into the shot clock. But he's a well-rounded player. He's a tough matchup because he's so tall, and he gets up on his jump shot. It seems like it's a little bit of a different release, but he gets up on it. It's very, very much a challenge to alter that shot. So you got to do a great job of staying true to your plan with him and making his catches as tough as possible.
I would imagine I think I shot 28 threes last night. It's a team that you always have to know where their three-point shooters are.
Oh, no question. It's a lot like Michigan. You can't be helping off of guys in that sense, and you've just got to be so sound with what you're trying to do. And you can't leave corners. You can't leave shooters. You've got to play the screens the right way. They're a great screening team. So those are all huge factors inside of the game.
Did you get the impression, I guess, last Saturday that your team was kind of getting used to having Christian back again, and that was kind of an adjustment? And I guess, how did you guys kind of...
Well, I didn't think of it that way, but I think that plays into it, no doubt about it. I think that definitely played into Friday's practice a little bit, and that's part of it. We as coaches, as media members, as fans, it's one thing for us to look at it. It's a whole other thing for those guys to have to adjust to it and play with it. And again, because we don't have what you would call, okay, these 7 or 8 are going to play and the rest are going to sit there and maybe see if their name gets called. That's not how we've been. So that's always going to play into it a little bit. But we've been very definitive this week in really trying to look out and see, okay, who are our best defenders? What gives us the best lineup to do this? What gives us the best lineup to do that? And the message to them constantly, unspoken, but hopefully they see it, is the more you're included in these different things, the better the player that you are. And we're a team that constantly has to keep looking at that. What gives us the best chance to win that particular game? What's our best zone team like? What's our best execution team? The more you can overlap and be part of those teams, then you're the better players. And we don't always have that. When we're looking to see, okay, who are our best defenders for this? Who are our next 4 for that? And then you start looking at the offense. They don't always overlap. And that's one of the reasons we have a long way to go still to get this program where your best players do it at both ends at the highest level. Not at a good level, on a solid level, but at the highest level. And that's what you're constantly trying to shoot for and get them to understand that's what they're trying to shoot for.
I'm guessing that you think that this team has come a long way defensively since the last time you played up there. But I mean, Merkovic looked like an All-American that day.
We can't, there's no question. And if that's the way it looks again tomorrow, we'll play small like we have in other games. We've got to find a way to win the game. And no matter what defense it is, no matter what the matchups are. But it's up to our players to come out and take their belief that they can do what they want, not the other way around. They're going to come in here, Northwestern will come in here with a heavy dose of confidence, and not just because they won last night, but because we did not make it tough enough for them to score there. And we need our crowd support and the sellout crowd and all those things to help, and our guys need to understand that they've got to do a much better job defensively. And as we go down the line, that's what we've done all week. We've practiced that way, we've been efficient that way, but now we've got to come out and carry it out that way.
With Christian, you had mentioned earlier in the week that he probably won't be 100% this season. What do you want to see out of him in the last 5 games of the regular season?
Well, I just want to see him to continue to get better and to be competitive like he was. I don't think he's thinking about his hand a whole lot. Be aggressive at the rim. And I think that's really important. Rebound. The two things he didn't get the other day in the Michigan game were rebounds and free throws. Those are two things that he has to get. When he's clicking like that with some other guys and they're clicking on those kind of cylinders where they're doing their best and they're playing to their strengths, well, then we're a lot better team. So those would be the things that would happen there. But at the same time, Will, Victor, people like that have gotten better, and hopefully that helps him on the court with more activity on the glass. But at the same time, if it's not there, then we can go to some other guys.
This is a question you might not have a clear answer on, but every team seems to have a guy who just has a knack for drawing charges. When you're looking at players, what exactly do you look for, or is that something that you could put in people and just being able to get in position to be willing to take charges?
Well, you've got to drill it. Yeah, there's no question that to their peers, if you turn the lights out at night and they've got to be honest and there's nobody else around, that's one of the greatest signs of toughness or lack of toughness in a player amongst one another. I've always believed that you're one of the greatest forms of selfishness is when you don't sprint back on defense. And a lot of times, where you are as a team is determined by how your big guys give help. And giving help is also in transition defense. And it's the same thing now when it comes to taking charges. When you won't put your body out there, we can drill it all we want. And you can get people, you can help rewire them a little bit to get them to understand that's important. But I think that's the sign of when a guy won't do that amongst his teammates. I think if they're really being honest about it, there's a little bit, they lose some respect for one another on that. And with that being said, we've got some guys that do a very good job of taking it, and we've got some guys that have to do a lot better job. And then there's other people in between. But it's something that's important. It can be demoralizing for the opponent. It is, I think something like that, and being able to get back and break up a play on transition defense when you were behind the play. Those are the kind of things that really, really are the ultimate forms of unselfishness, and selflessness is probably a better word for your team.
On that topic, with the ability to sell the charge without flopping, what's the...
A lot of that depends on the referees. It really does. And you know the ones that have the reputation for not calling that and the ones that don't. The ones that are always motioning for you to get up throughout the game, they don't want to do that. But I think there's an art to it. I think it's a matter of taking it in the chest. I don't respect flopping, and we don't teach it. We never have. And we respect getting squared up. We respect taking it in the chest. And the only thing that I think you've got to do a really good job of is making sure that you're very vocal when you take it, and you have to sell it vocally. But guys that flop just get in the way, screw the game up. And guys that take charges, you should take your hat off to them, because it's a lot easier said than done.
It seems like a guy like Jordan really enjoys it. There's probably some guys that have the mentality, I don't know if enjoy is quite the word, but maybe it is, as opposed to just it's the last thing they do. But does he kind of have that mindset?
Oh, I think so, as does Dan Moore. And that's something that has to continue to you have to have lane intimidation somehow. And it can come on help defense, it can come in blocking shots, it can come in drawing charges. But there has to be some type of intimidation in that lane. And we need to continue to get better at that. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, we also need to do a better job keeping the ball out of the middle and keeping the ball out of the paint. Whether it's post defense or whether it's guarding the dribble.
Do you think Dane Fife was the guy that got in the way?
Did you think he was a flopper?
Oh, yeah.
I've always admired, I'll be honest, I didn't pay as much attention. I never thought he was a flopper, but I didn't cover him like you did either. I didn't. I mean, I had great respect for him, obviously, recruiting him when I was back at Michigan State, but I had great respect for him and only competed against him one time. And Dane was one of those guys as a player that you could not stand him if you were competing against him, but you'd put him at the front of the bus if he was playing with you, because you want to make sure that he got off before anybody else, and make sure he had the right locker and his jersey was pressed the right way, because those are the kind of guys you can't win without. But I would defer. I didn't view it like that, but I don't have the education on it that you do. So do not print that I said he was a flop.
Based on the last couple of games we've gone for Jeremiah, what are you hoping to see out of him tomorrow night?
Defensive energy, drive and kick. Don't worry about a lot of things other than really getting down and guarding and making sure the ball moves. That's the biggest thing.
Has he shown any kind of extra edge this week in practice or anything like that?
Well, I think they've all been good this week. I think they've all been good, and there's nobody that I would look at and say, wow, they've had a bad week. But the edge comes out tomorrow night. It's been a very, very, very good week of practice, and we've gotten a lot done, and we hope that we're going to be able to carry it over. But that's always what it is for us. It's the carryover.
How different is just getting ready for Northwestern with all the prints and stuff, with all the back cuts and everything?
Well, it's different it's different because they don't really put anybody out there that can't make a play. I mean, Marco Tullio is one of the most improved shooters in the league with his percentage. The 5 men are both shooting 38% from the three. So you have to guard those guys to the three-point line. So it's really an awareness, being alert, knowing exactly what you want to do. Are you going to switch screens? Are you going to not switch screens? Snapping low on the back cuts, things that we didn't do as good a job of up there. But they depend on you to mentally break down as much or more than physically break down inside of a possession and inside of the game. And we've tried to really push our guys through long stretches of possessions. And not necessarily doing everything in the set of 35 seconds, but where they had to get a certain amount of things done before they got off the court and the next group came on, to kind of keep building that mental discipline that you've got to have to guard a team like that.
What do you point out from, I guess, the previous game, I guess, when you look at film?
Transition defense,
yeah,
more than anything else. Lack of physicality in the first half. We were excellent in the second half in a lot of stretches, but just not nearly where we wanted to be. And our identity, and you've seen it, I've seen it, they've seen it. When the identity comes out, and it's going to be toughness on defense, help on defense, and even in the case of a couple guys, that their teammates trust them defensively, rebounding the ball on both ends, and not just the defensive end, but absolutely getting to it on the offensive board, making sure that we get out and run and stop people in transition, and then get the ball moved. Now, it may mean that we score off no passes. It may mean that we score off 8 passes, but it's got to move. And it's got to switch sides of the floor, and it's got to be going downhill when we're in a drive. And those are the things that we have to continue to identify with. And that's what we're building here all the time. That's certainly what we're trying to evaluate in all of the recruiting for the future, and make sure that we're getting guys that understand those types of things.
Did you feel like it was late in the game, maybe the first time against Northwestern, where maybe Christian started to get it as to what you were trying to hope that he would become, the kind of player he'd become?
Probably. Yeah, probably. I mean, every player gets it at different times, understands it at different times. But the most important thing you can do as a coach is just you move on, no matter who's there, who's not there. And whether it's who starts, who subs, who's on the bench, who's injured, it doesn't matter. And I think in the second half of that game, he responded in a really good way. I mean, he certainly has his abilities to respond, and he's had a very good week, and I'm hoping that he can. This week has been good for him in the sense of really being able to come out and play the way that he's capable of, because he's certainly capable. But he did have a very good second half. I think he scored 17, right? Is that right? Or 17 for the game, 17 in the second. Very good player in that second half.